Saints second-year quarterback Spencer Rattler just had the best game of his NFL career, throwing 3 touchdowns versus a very tough 49ers defense in a loss, and the Saints dropped to 0-2. But just because the Saints lost doesn't mean that there wasn't positives to take away from this game, but trust me, there's a lot of negatives in here as well, like Isaac Yiadom, Blake Grupe, Juwan Johnson, and a lot more. But I think the biggest takeaway from this game is that Spencer Rattler is not the main issue when it comes to the Saints. He's not the biggest problem, and I don't even think he's close to the biggest problem on the Saints. And we're going to be breaking that all down in today's video. I'm Cash. You should take 5 seconds to like the video and subscribe. Help support the channel. We're trying to get to 15K. We're at like 14.2 right now. Appreciate the support. Let's keep this thing going. With all that being said, let's dive into the Saints Week 2 matchup versus the 49ers. So the Saints just lost to the 49ers in a very close 26-21 game, which came down to the final drive. While the Saints did lose and dropped to 0-2, I think the biggest takeaway here is that Spencer Rattler just played his best NFL game as an NFL pro. Pulling up the stats from the game that Rattler had, he was 25 of 34, had 207 passing yards, averaged 6.1 yards per attempt, way better than last week's 4.5 or whatever it was. 3 touchdowns. It's the first time in his NFL career he had a multiple touchdown game. 0 turnovers, took 3 sacks. 2 of them weren't his fault, and had 14 rushing yards. But within those 14 rushing yards, man, were they very critical. Spencer Rattler just had the best game of his NFL career without a doubt. At one point, Rattler had completed 12 or 13 consecutive passes, including 2 of them being touchdowns. By far, Rattler's best performance that we've seen from him since the Saints drafted him. I like from Spencer Rattler, we saw him take a few more shots downfield, go downfield, target his main weapons, and we saw that on the opening drive to wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. This is one of the first plays of the game. They went with the play action. Rattler saw the mismatch up top, went deep to Shaheed, tight coverage, and placed it perfectly, and Shaheed makes an awesome catch. The throw could not have been more perfect from Rattler to Shaheed in this situation. Right over the shoulder, right in the breadbasket. The throw doesn't get better than this, and it got him in position to take points, which didn't actually happen, and we'll dive into that momentarily. When I mentioned Rattler used his legs, and while he didn't have a lot of rushing yards, those rushes were in critical situations. This is what I was talking about. Second quarter, 2 minutes left, 3rd and 6, they're in field goal range, and They got to get a first down here. Under some pressure, Rattler pump fakes, breaks out of 2 sacks, looks to run. There's 3 guys right here, including Fred Warner, the best linebacker in the NFL. Cuts back, somehow stays up between these 2 guys and gets the first down and extra yardage. What an excellent play from Rattler right there. This is what I'm talking about, him using his legs. He may not have had a lot of rushing yards, but when he used his legs, they were in big, critical situations. And then that run led to an awesome touchdown pass to Juwan Johnson off the back foot, 3rd and 6, put it in a spot to where only Juwan Johnson could make the catch, and he got 2 feet in, made the catch. After having a rough start to the game, Rattler could not have placed this ball any perfect. He put it to where only Juwan Johnson could make a play in a 50-50 situation on 3rd down. There's also this really nice RPO play from Kellen Moore. Rattler did a good job keeping it and then finding Shaheed in the flats. And this is Rashid Shaheed's shortest touchdown of his NFL career. The next one was that 19-yarder versus the Tennessee Titans from Derek Carr. And then this is Rattler's 3rd touchdown of the day. 1st and goal. Awesome zip pass, bullet to Devon Vele over the middle to get his team in range to have a chance to win the football game. An awesome job from Spencer Rattler. 3 touchdowns on the day. 1 tough run. And this is exactly why they traded for Devon Vele, to make these tough physical catches over the middle in the red zone. That trade pulling off right there, and that showcasing what his role in this offense is likely going to be. And he also had this awesome 4th down run as well. 4th and 1. RPO keeps it. Right here, looks like nothing's going to work. This guy's playing it perfectly. And then Rattler keeps it. Awesome move. And gets the first down, keeping the drive alive. Spencer Rattler on the day had a good job running the football, using plays with his legs, and making some really good passes, which led to him having 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards in the best NFL game he's had in his career. And I also would like to mention, Rattler's day likely would have been better if it wasn't for multiple drops from Juwan Johnson. There's even a play early on where Talese Fuaga looked like he was running a route thinking he was a tight end, and that resulted in a flag and negated a pass to Chris Olave. Now, I will say this though, looking back at the game, there were 2 plays I think Spencer Rattler is going to want back, and one of them was on that opening drive to wide receiver Chris Olave, where they missed on an opportunity to score a touchdown on the opening drive. It was 2nd and 6. Good opportunity to get some points on the board. Opening drive. Rattler throws into the end zone and misses Olave on a pass behind him. Now, 2 things can be true. Olave should have caught it, hit him in the hands. Tough catch to make, but he should have caught it. And Rattler could have had a better pass. 2 things can be true. Olave should have caught it. Rattler should have thrown a better pass. And here's a better angle of it. Oh, here's Olave with an excellent route. Gets open. Puts a man in the ground, broke his ankles, but Rattler needs to lead him inside, throws it outside, and this is one that you look back on and like, the Saints have the lead at the end of the game if they complete this pass. And the other pass I think Spencer Rattler missed on was this pass to Alvin Kamara. The play Alvin Kamara fumbled the football. I still don't think it was a fumble. I thought it was incomplete, but he throws a rocket to Alvin Kamara. They're 5-7 yards away from each other, throws it behind him, and it forces Alvin Kamara to take an awkward step, awkward position to make this catch. And then Fred Warner comes in and forces a fumble. So this is one he has to just touch on it and lead him and not throw behind him and throw a bullet. So those are the 2 plays I think Rattler probably wants back the most. Those are my 2 biggest issues with his game. But overall, I honestly think Rattler's one of the best players on the Saints today versus the 49ers. There's a lot of problems with the New Orleans Saints team. 2 weeks into the season though, quarterback Spencer Rattler does not appear to be one of the major problems. I don't even think he's the worst quarterback in the league after people had him ranked there. Honestly, I think he's probably like in that 24-22 range as of right now. Maybe that increases, decreases, but I simply don't think he's the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. I forgot to mention this, but Kelvin Banks and Talese Fuaga, I'd say for 85-90% of the game, didn't hear their names. I feel like they did an excellent job against Nick Bosa. I know Bosa had a sack, but I didn't hear his name basically the entire game aside from one play. I think Kelvin Banks did an excellent job, and Fuaga, outside of that last play where he let the guy just sack Spencer Rattler, which was not Rattler's fault, I think Fuaga and Banks are going to be fine. I think they're going to have to find a way to manage Fuaga's injury though. Kelvin Banks, I feel great about him after he had Nick Bosa basically quiet all day long. Also, shout out to Kelvin Banks when Spencer Rattler took this late hit on the sideline. Look at the 2 guys who are out there. It was Eric McCoy and Kelvin Banks who were the most upset about this. Kelvin Banks had to be calmed down a little bit. He was getting in there. He did not like that the 49ers hit his quarterback, and I'm glad they had Spencer Rattler's back. Look at how pissed Kelvin Banks was about that late hit on Spencer Rattler. So glad to know that the Saints have their quarterbacks back. And good to know that the Saints' first overall pick in Kelvin Banks, a guy who's been, I think, excellent so far, has his QBs back. Saints running back Alvin Kamara had himself a pretty nice day for the most part outside of that fumble. He had over 100 yards on the day, but this stat is actually insane. Kamara has lost 7 fumbles in his career. 4 of them have come to the 49ers. He had 2 in 2022 in San Francisco. He had 1 in 2019 and had 1 today. And Fred Warner, by the way, an absolute monster. One of the best linebackers I've ever seen play football. Has forced 2 of them. So, yeah, the 49ers get the better of Alvin Kamara. But on the day, Kamara had over 100 yards, had a good game. Moving on to the negatives, though, there's 2 names that stand out to me as the big reason why the Saints struggled so much today, and that's kicker Blake Grupe, who had a missed 40-yard field goal early on in the game on an opening drive that looked promising, and cornerback Isaac Yiadom, who just completely got burnt all day long. It felt like whenever the 49ers were in a situation and they had to get a first down, they threw right at number 27, who was just getting cooked all day. And if he didn't let up a catch, he was committing a penalty. He committed 2 penalties on the day. So Isaac Yiadom, I don't want to see him play football anymore. Keep him on the bench. Don't lose that 4th round comp pick from Paulson Adebo. Put Quincy Riley in there. I'd much rather see Quincy Riley struggle as a 4th round pick rookie than watch Isaac Yiadom, a veteran guy, in there struggling, and you're losing a comp pick on top of it. I'd much rather watch Quincy Riley play football, and I think Riley has higher upside and more ability to create plays on the football than Isaac Yiadom. It just felt like he was getting cooked all day long. Blake Grupe missed a field goal, and on top of that, he couldn't even kick the football into the landing zone, which is a 30-yard zone. So that's rather embarrassing. That's 2 weeks in a row now. Blake Grupe has missed a critical field goal in a close game. Kellen Moore is asked about it post-game. He said they have to do a better job in the kicking operation. Said Grupe needed to get better and will get better. Nothing that recommends changes. Well, they got Charlie Smith on the practice squad, I think. I'd bring in some guys during this week to just be like, hey, send Blake Grupe a message. Your job's on the line. You can't keep missing these gimme field goals. He was perfect all throughout camp, get in the game, and he's missed 2 field goals. Unacceptable. The most frustrating thing about this team, though, was their situational defense. Their defense, 3rd and long situations, trying to get off the field, and the 49ers would just convert. Always a guy open, always a guy making a play. Kyle Shanahan arched Brandon Staley's back and went to town on him. There's too much zone, and Mac Jones absolutely cooked the Saints defense, and I hate that I had to say that. Mac Jones threw the ball 40 damn times today for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns. Absolutely ridiculous that Mac Jones, of all people, was the guy cooking the Saints defense today. He had a nice run where he backstepped on Pete Warner, who also had a rough game. Brandon Staley's defense, I think the biggest weakness we saw today is that they play too much zone, and the 49ers took big advantage of that. Especially in that 2-minute drill before halftime, the 49ers were just taking advantages of the open zones the Saints defense was leaving, and it was not a good day for Brandon Staley's defense. And this is what I mean on those 3rd downs. 3rd and 14 they gave up, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 13 penalty on Isaac Yiadom or Kool-Aid McKinstry, I don't remember. Gave up in 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 11 touchdown to Juwan Jennings. This cannot happen. Their 3rd down football, their situational football was atrocious. And on top of that, I did not like the mismatches that we got with Christian McCaffrey. The Saints had Pete Warner covering McCaffrey on some plays, and that's just something that can't be allowed. Here's a mismatch. You got Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, and Alontae Taylor gets beat. That's a mismatch in its own. Good pass from Mac Jones. Right here, don't like the fact that we have Pete Warner. Pete Warner is actually in position to make a play here. He just pops a squat and doesn't do anything. He just watches the ball go over his head and go into Juwan Jennings' hands. At some point, I'd like to see Danny Stutzman get some playing time over Pete Warner. I don't know if that happens to Danny Stutzman. Pete Warner just sits there and lets Juwan Jennings get the touchdown while he sits in the zone. Now, something we are definitely keeping an eye on was the penalties. And on the day, I think the Saints definitely had some frustrating penalties. On the day, they had a total of, where are they at? They had 7 penalties on the day. I believe 5 of them, though, were in the first half. So they got cleaned up a little bit. They got cut in half from last week, but they still have to clean them up. There's definitely some ones that costed them some points and some downs. Kool-Aid McKinstry had a bad penalty. There's some bad holding penalty on Eric McCoy. So there's obviously things that need to get cleaned up, but they got cleaned up in the second half, and on top of that, they cut them down in half from last week. So just little improvements and little wins here and there. So the Saints lost to the 49ers 26-21 in a close game. Although I thought it was very entertaining, the Saints were projected to be the worst team in the league. That's 2 weeks in a row now, though. They lost by 1 score, and it came down to literally the final drive. Spencer Rattler was supposed to be the worst quarterback in the league. I think he's better than people expected him to be. He just had his best game, 3 touchdowns, made some big plays in the big moments. He's not the biggest issue when it comes to this Saints team. So while the Saints lost, Spencer Rattler's performance makes it feel a little bit better. But obviously the Saints do need to start winning some games. And so does Spencer Rattler. He's now 0-8 as a starter. But, you know, are we really counting last season? I mean, we are, but also those are some unforeseen circumstances. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on the game. Let me know if you thought Spencer Rattler played well. Was he the best player on the field? Anything like that, drop it in the comments. That being said, though, that's it for this video. I appreciate it if you made it to the end of the video. And shout out to you guys who tuned into the live stream. It was super cool. Super grateful that you guys tuned in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Help support me and the channel. College student trying to grow this thing out. I'm Cash, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.